Hey everybody, Matthew Paulson here. I have Will Bushy on the line with me from Bright Planet. He is going to be my kind of moderator today. So if you guys have any trouble seeing the screen, you don't see my slides, anything like that, Will help you with that. And if something is wrong and my audio is not coming through, he will yell at me. So Will is certainly here to help. While we kind of wait for everyone to come in, I've got a poll I made. And really, it's just for me to understand who's watching the webinar so that I can make the content most relevant to who's here. So if you see the poll and go to webinar, the question is, how would you best describe yourself? Are you an online business owner? Are you a successful online business owner? Do you own a physical business? Are you a service provider, like a banker, attorney, insurance person? Or are you an employee that wants to be an entrepreneur someday? So we're getting some answers. Thank you for participating. See, it looks like a third of you voted. Wow, you guys are actually voting. That's great. Oh, the numbers are changing. Interesting. We've got quite a mix of people. I don't know if you guys can see the responses or not. Maybe you can. It looks like pretty even on all the different categories except for service providers. We have quite a few of them in here. Have 33 of you watching right now. That's great that you all showed up. I'm sure everyone else is probably going to watch the recording. I did get several people ask about that, which is always the case because people have jobs and can't watch a webinar at 11 a.m. Just a little bit of background, guys. This is not for me to sell anything. It's not for me to pitch anything. The only thing I have to sell you guys is a $10 book, even that, or a $3 ebook. And I could care less if you buy it or not. I give out free books all the time. This is just give you some experience hosting a webinar, because in my other business, MarketBeat, I've learned that webinars are quite a profitable sales tool, and I wanted to get a little bit of practice teaching something that I'm very familiar with, just to get used to GoToWebinar before I try to sell something on a webinar. So that's kind of what we're doing today. It is 11:01. We'll give just a couple more minutes, maybe another minute before we get started. I've got 41 of you in here now. Looks like the poll responses, 19% online business owners that make more than $1,000 a month, 12% online business owners that make less than $1,000 a month, 14% physical business owners, 39% service providers, and 17% future employee or entrepreneurs that are currently employees. If you do have questions, feel free to type them in the chat as we go. Will will be monitoring them, and he'll be asking them at the end. Oh, we already have one question. What if we have more than one business? Well, then you can certainly apply what you learned today in multiple businesses based off what's most relevant. Certainly not everything is going to be relevant to every business. Like for us, Facebook ads is something we can't do because our audience of 60 and 70-year-old men really aren't on Facebook. So that's just not something we can do a lot of. But we can certainly do push notifications. We can do email marketing. Those things work really well for our industry. So you kind of have to pick and choose what's most relevant to you. Okay, it is 11:02. I got 53 people in here now, so I think we are going to go ahead and get started. And today's kind of topic, we're going to learn about email marketing, some advanced tactics. We're going to learn about browser notifications, web push notifications, same thing, and how to use Facebook Messenger bots. See if I can get them. A little bit about me for those of you that don't know me. I sent this out to my email list, and not everyone really knows who I am in detail, so I'm just going to go through this in a minute or two. I got a nice picture of my kids over there. My wife's name is Corrine. She's a school teacher. She's a mom.
Matt,
yes.
The poll is still showing, so I think you might need to end that.
How do I end? Okay. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I shared the poll. Is it showing up now?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So you guys are seeing, Will, do you see the right thing now?
Yes, we do. Yep.
Okay.
About me.
Okay. Yep. So my wife, Corrine, my 5-year-old son, Micah, we just had kindergarten registration yesterday, and then my daughter, Adeline, that's probably a year-old picture, but she's going to turn 2 next week. So that's us. I have a computer science degree from Dakota State. I also did the MSIS, Masters of Science in Information Systems program there. And then after that, I decided to get a seminary degree, so I have a MA in Christian leadership as well. Really what most of my time in the last 12 years has gone to is entrepreneurship and businesses. So I've started, I guess, 6 different businesses. I mean, there were certainly more and lots of failures in there, so don't think that I've only had successes, because there are plenty of businesses that I tried that never got off the ground. My first business was called American Consumer News. It was a network of personal finance blogs that we ran from 2006 to about 2011. When the Google Panda update happened, that business became unprofitable, so we shut it down. Around then, we transitioned to MarketBeat, which is a financial media company. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I ran a press release writing and distribution business called Lightning Releases. I sold that in 2014 to some guys in Utah. Company is still run called GoGo Photo Contest, helps animal shelters raise money through online photo contest fundraisers. Started that with a couple friends, that's Jason and Stevie Shea. I was involved with a company called US Golf TV for the last 3 years, and I sold kind of out of it at the end of last year. Sold my equity back to the other 2 owners. And then Falls Angel Fund is a community-based angel fund in Sioux Falls that I am the chair of, and we invest in early stage, high growth companies in South Dakota and surrounding states. So that is a little bit about me. What we are going to do today over the next kind of half hour or so, we're going to learn how email and push notifications have grown our company's revenue over time. We're going to talk about how to leverage web push notifications on your website. We're going to talk about Facebook Messenger bots, and there's been a little bit of an update in the last couple of weeks, I know, so we'll talk about that too. And then we're going to talk about some more advanced email marketing strategies. Maybe at some point we'll have more of a basic email marketing course, which I think some of you would probably want. But today we're going to go over a few advanced tactics, and we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. So MarketBeat, we're a web-based financial media company. We get about 50 million page views a year on our website. We're going to do about $4 million in this year in revenue. We did about $3.5 million last year. Our profit margin is 75%. It's an all digital business, so we have great profit margins, not a whole lot of expenses. So we actually get to keep the money we make, which is nice. We have 610,000 email subscribers and 200,000 people that have subscribed to our browser notifications, web push notifications, and we were on the Inc. That 5,000 list the last 2 years, and we are anticipating that we'll make it again this year. And then there are 4 employees in our company, which is me, Rebecca, Stevie, and Dawn. And if you want to see how all this stuff works, like what our push notifications look like, what our email opt-ins, how those things work, just go to marketbeat.com and you'll see them and how they get implemented in real life. So one chart that I like to show about MarketBeat is that how much money we make for every 1,000 people that visit our website over time. And 2010, 11, and even into 12, we were making $30 for every 1,000 people on our website. And that was just display advertising revenue. And to get past that, in 2013 here, that's when we started doing email kind of in a big way. In 2015, we started doing browser notifications. In 2017, we ended up doing the messenger bot stuff. So as we gain new ways to capture our audience and are able to remarket to them and we communicate with them in the future, the amount of money we make for every person that's on our website has not quite tripled. So these things are really powerful. It just allows you to maximize the people that are paying attention to you. So email marketing, push notifications, and Facebook Messenger bots, aren't necessarily ways to get new people to your website, but they are kind of tools to make the best use of the people that are coming to your website. One metric that I really like to track that not everyone tracks that has an online business for sure, and if you have a physical business or your service provider, this is less relevant to you, but how much of your company is dependent on any one big company. So Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, whoever. Many people build businesses based on top of these things, and then those businesses, their interests aren't aligned with yours perfectly, and then they change something, and then you don't have a business anymore. I learned that in 2010-11 when 80% of my revenue was dependent on Google. And when the Google Panda update happened, I lost a bunch of money, and then I realized I'm never going to make that mistake again. So every year we try to be a little bit less dependent on Google, get traffic from other sources, buy email signups from elsewhere. And we've really built a resilient business now because we're not reliant on any one big tech company. Another chart that I like to show is how our revenue has changed over time. So these are the different revenue sources. This light blue is display advertising. The gray is co-registration advertising. So those are ads that show up after you sign up for a mailing list. Yellow is subscriptions. And then this lighter blue is the lighter blue is email advertisements. So ads in our newsletter, ads sent to our email list. And then the green is web push notifications. So if you look over the last couple of years, without push notifications and email ads, our revenue would have been flat, if not declining a little bit. And it's because of these extra things we've been, has enabled us to keep our business growing over time. First topic kind of the day is push notifications. Some people will call these browser notifications. They are the same thing. You can use these in Chrome, Firefox, and Safari, and probably about next month when Microsoft releases their new version of Windows 10, support will be added for Microsoft Edge. So really you'll kind of get all of the big desktop web browsers. The only thing that doesn't support it is Safari on the iPhone. Chrome on Android devices does support it. Safari on the iPhone just doesn't support technology called service workers, so that's not there yet, but hopefully it will be eventually. And one thing that's cool about push notifications, browser notifications, is that they aren't dependent on Apple, Google, or any single company. So there's some security in knowing that, like, one of the big tech companies won't just change it because it is an open specification, and it can't just arbitrarily change like the rules on a Facebook page might. You build a push list in the same way that you build an email list, so you have an opt-in on your website. dailypolitical.com is a website that I own. So when you go there, it'll say this site wants to send you notifications, and you click allow or block. And if you click allow, then I'm able to send you notifications. And even if you're on a different website in the future, you can, you'll still get my notifications. So that's really what's powerful. So you could be on MarketBeat, click the allow button, head on over to ESPN. I send a notification, you still get it, and then maybe you'll click on it and come back to my website. So it's a incredibly powerful technology. Even if you're just sending out new blog posts to your push notifications list, it's a very powerful thing. And then in the bottom here, you see an example of an advertisement that ran to our push notification list last year. For a while, marijuana stocks was like the thing that was people were advertising in our space, and that's what the Agora financials and all the big financial publishers were advertising. So this was an ad that went out to our list. There is kind of an ephemeral nature to push notifications. People don't stay subscribed as long as they do with an email. They might see a notification they don't like, they might block it, they might switch web browsers, they might be a Firefox user and then they go to Chrome and then they're not subscribed anymore. They might get a new laptop or a new phone and then they're not subscribed anymore. So these are less persistent than email notifications, and that's okay. It's just recognizing it's part of the technology. And hopefully people will come back to your website and then they'll sign up again. So that's okay. One requirement of these things to do it right is that you really need to have a secure website. So you need to have an SSL certificate set up, have the HTTPS in your web URL. But part of the technology requires that. If you don't do that, you have to do a workaround, which doesn't work as well, and you get lower opt-in rates. So if you can make your site 100% secure, there's a lot of good reasons to do that. Then you can also do this really cool native browser push notification ask and get higher opt-in rates. Some of our stats of push notifications, we have about 200,000 people that get these subscribers or get these notifications from us. For every 1,000 people that go to our website, 1.5% of them will opt in, so we'll get 15 opt-ins out of 1,000 people, which is probably lower than most of you would see because of the industry that we're in. Your numbers are going to vary, so if you have a smaller audience, more engaged audience than we do, you'll get a higher rate than that. We send 4 push notifications a day. We get an average of 1,750 clicks on each notification that we get. And then we make between $60,000 and $80,000 in revenue a month from these notifications. And mostly these are from ad sales, like the ad that I showed you guys before. And then we also have 10-page articles on our website, slideshows, where you click next to next to next. They're really annoying, but lots of people do them because they make lots of money. So if I can get you to look at 10 ads versus 1 ads, certainly I'm going to make more money on those. And if I do send out a slideshow to the list, I'll make maybe about 25 cents for every person that clicks on it. There's lots of ways to monetize push notifications. If you have advertisers that you have direct relationships with, you can sell clicks back to them. Obviously, if you're a service provider, you have something to sell. You can send that to like a lead form and have them contact you and say, hey, set up an appointment so we can go over, whatever it is that I happen to sell. Depending on what space you're in, you could do affiliate offers. You could use offers on like Commission Junction or another platform like that. If you have your own products to sell, like an ebook or an online course, you could do an ad for those. Slideshow articles, again, we talked about those. Even if you have a new blog post, you can send people back to there just to get people on your website. There was a done for you push ad network, so you could just kind of give it to them and let them send ads to your list. They're called push earnings that shut down. I think there is another one now. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but there's a guy named Kevin Gilbertson. He goes by Gilby, runs tinyurl.com. He's working with them, that new network, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but there is another one out there now. And it is okay to be aggressive with your notifications and how many you send. It's okay to send 3 of them a day, 4 of them a day, because they are ephemeral. People come and go on your list. They don't use that computer anymore, or whatever. And so you really need to engage your push list and kind of make the best use out of it while you can, because people may only be subscribed to browser notifications for a month, where in email they might be subscribed for like a year and a half. There are kind of 2 platforms for push notifications. OneSignal and PushCrew are kind of the 2 big ones. I happen to use OneSignal. It's free, which is nice. It has a full API. There's some good stats. They do sell your data, so they do like a retargeting pixel on your website. That won't affect most people, and it's a really good tool for programmers because their API is really good. For most people that are here, PushCrew is probably a better solution. It is a paid solution. The API is not as good, but their user interface is much better. And you can do autoresponders. You can do autoresponder messages on those. So like day 1, somebody gets a message. Day 3, they get a message. Day 5, they get a message, just like they would with email. You can also just set up your RSS feed on your website to go directly to push notifications, so you can kind of automate that really easy, and it just is easier to set up. So if you're a marketer, a little bit less technical, PushCrew is definitely the solution for you. Again, another tip, don't use the 2-click opt-in. So if you don't have a secure website, you don't have the HTTPS URL set up on your website or SSL certificate, you have to kind of do a workaround where there's kind of this fake opt-in thing, and then you click a button, then it pops up a new window, and then you click another button. Just the very fact that there are 2 steps there really hurts your opt-in rate. So if you can at all, use the native opt-in notification. On the left, you'll see an ad with like a large image. Those work really well. I think they only show up in Chrome, but those really help click-through rates. And then you can add buttons to the bottom. So like, we added one here with this little icon that says click here for details. Those call to actions really improve your click-through rates. You can set an expiration time on your messages. We do that with all of them because if you might not use your computer for a week, we don't want to have somebody have 50 messages waiting for them or whatever it would be. Maybe like 20, but we set them to expire after a day. I think that's just a good practice so that you're not really annoying people. And then push notifications have, most of the servers have what's called smart timing. So this means that I can send it to you at say 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. regardless of what time zone you're in. So if you're at 10 a.m., if you live in New York, you get it at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you're in California, you get it at 10 a.m. Pacific. And that's a really good thing to do, just in case you have people like in Europe or Asia that are on your mailing list, and that way they're not getting browser notifications on their phone in the middle of the night. So that's a good way to be less annoying. Okay, let's move on a little bit to Facebook Messenger bots. You can see what an opt-in looks like. It could be a pop-up, a bar on top, something in content, anything like that. I'll show you an example of this that's live on one of my websites right now, if I can. I'm trying to open the browser window here. Get it over. Will, are you seeing the Chrome window now?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay. This is one of our websites. And then this is an ad from ManyChat, our Facebook Messenger bot right there. So you can kind of see what that looks like. And then say if you click on that button, it'll send it to you on MSN Messenger. So you'll get a message from MarketBeat and say, hey, here's your free copy of my book. And then just a notice saying, hey, we're going to send you some information over a period of time. And then if you don't want it anymore, just type stop, and then it'll stop. And then there's a copy of my book in PDF format. So that's kind of how it works. And you can go to this domain, stocknewstimes.com, anytime you want. You can see how it works. And there's plenty of websites that do that now if you want to try it out. There are some limitations to this technology, Facebook Messenger bots, and the newest limitation is, Facebook's whole privacy thing with Cambridge Analytica and how they ended up leaking a bunch of our data. They have temporarily pressed the pause button on adding messenger bots to new Facebook pages, so you might not be able to do this now unless you've already hooked it up. You might have to wait a little while until they come out with some new rules for that to protect users' privacy, so that's kind of on pause right now. If you want to read a little bit more about that, you can go to the ManyChat blog. They have a nice article on that right now. So this is paused for new people right now, but it will definitely come back soon. That's what it sounds like. So for Facebook Messenger bots, there are different type of messages. You can do a subscription broadcast, which is kind of a broadcast to anybody. You can't do ads in those. And then for promotional broadcasts, if you're going to try to sell something, they really only want you to message people that have been active within the last day or two, so that you're not annoying people. So far, I haven't seen them limited. They don't really check what you post, so you could put an ad for your subscription broadcast. Maybe you'll get in trouble for it at some point in the future, but now it doesn't really look like it's being enforced. You can do autoresponder sequences with these things. They are limited to 10 days. With email, you might do 30 days, but with Facebook Messenger, we'll do one message every other day for 10 days. And then also, because you're sending messages to people over Facebook from your Facebook page, people are going to chat with you back whether you want them to or not. So you had better be prepared to start answering Facebook messages if you're going to do this. So it kind of by default becomes a new customer service channel for you, because people are going to message you about your stuff just because you have that set up, and you probably should respond to them as well. The other limitation is that you don't own your audience. Facebook owns your audience. Facebook could just get rid of the Messenger bot platform altogether, and then we would have no way to contact our audience. So just be aware of that. It's like building a Facebook page or a Twitter list. You don't own that audience. Facebook does, Twitter does, whoever else does. Here you can see our autoresponder series. It's an older screenshot, but right now I think we have about 3,000 web push subscribers. It's not a great fit for our audience because our audience mostly isn't on Facebook. They're primarily older men, and those people aren't on Facebook, so we don't do a whole lot with this now. But you can kind of see what the numbers look like, and people open Facebook messages because they show up on their phone, they show up in their browser, and people look at them. So you see the incredibly high open rates that we get. Like this sequence message number 2, we had an 81% open rate and actually 130% click-through rate. And the reason that the click-through rate was over 100% was because there were multiple links in that message and people clicked on them. So you get really high engagement on Facebook. So if you have an audience that's on Facebook, you definitely want to do a messenger bot if you can. Some tips. I use ManyChat. Most people do for marketing. If you want to write a true chat bot that integrates with other software, Chatfuel might be a little bit better. But for most people that are marketers, have an e-commerce website, just want to chat with people, ManyChat is a very good solution. ManyChat has what are called growth tools. They're different types of opt-ins. I'm going to go to their website quick and show you what some of those look like. I'll show you the growth tool we're using right now. We just set it up today. That's the marijuana stock thing that's on Stock News Times that I showed you. Before that, see if I can get it to show up. We had this growth tool. It might be hard to see. Right here, it was this little sidebar thing that popped up on the side. And they have lots of different kinds of these. Let's see. Yeah, you can do like a bar on top. You can do a slide-in thing on the bottom right or the bottom left. You can do a modal pop-up like my email pop-up on MarketBeat. You can do a full-page takeover. You can just embed a button or a box too. So you have a lot of creativity in terms of the placement and the colors. You can really make it match your site well. Let's see. Yeah, so when you're sending messages to people on your Facebook Messenger bot list, keep them short and conversational, just like I'm sending you a Facebook message. Keep them, so it'll be like, hey Matt, check out this new article I just posted, here's the link. Keep it really simple like that. Definitely make an autoresponder series for your list. That way people can get engaged with your content over kind of that 10-day period where you can send them new messages with kind of your core content offerings. So say you're on a knitting site, you might say, day 1 is here's knitting 101, day 2 is here's my best knitting tools, day 3 is here are some cool knitting patterns that you might want to try, and then you go on from there. So just really kind of basic engagement content in that autoresponder series. You can use your list to identify your customer avatar. So like a customer avatar is kind of a fake person that kind of embodies who your audience is. So here you can see people that have signed up for my messenger bots. You see it's a lot of older men, certainly some women, but primarily men. People that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So it's really easy to figure out who your audience is just by clicking on some people and just learning a little bit about them. It's very easy to figure out the types of people that are consuming your content. On your messages, you can target by gender, by age, by location if you want to. We don't get that complicated, but you can. Again, be prepared to provide customer service through it because people are going to message you. And this is a platform where you really shouldn't overdo it. One message a day, one message every other day is about the right fit. Because if you're sending a Facebook message every day to somebody, you're going to become that annoying friend on Facebook that you just want to block. So be conservative about how many messages you send. There's a guy named Ezra Firestone. Smart Marketer is his brand, but he probably has the best Facebook Messenger bot training that's on the web. So if you want to pay for a course, that's really good. Check out his stuff. Don't have an affiliate link, just Google it, smartmarketer.com, you'll find it. He's got really good stuff there. Kind of the last topic is email marketing. When I did this presentation first at the Rhodium Weekend Conference in 2017, it was to a more advanced group. So these tips are going to be a little bit more advanced. If you don't have a good background in email marketing, read my book. I have a link to a free ebook copy, marketbeat.com/images/emd.zip, and maybe we'll put that link in the chat. But that will give you a free copy, digital copy of the book, and you can read through that and learn really the basics about email service providers, about email opt-ins, autoresponder series, all that stuff. So if you want the basics, go grab that book. So we're going to have kind of 5 more advanced tips that will help people improve their email deliverability here. Most people overestimate their email deliverability. They think that, oh, it's showing up in the inbox and my inbox, so it must be doing the same with everyone else's. Or if it's showing up in the spam filter in my inbox, it's probably doing that for everyone, but that's not the case. Every email service provider, Hotmail, Yahoo, AOL, Google, they all have kind of different filters, and you might be in the inbox in one of them and the spam filter in the others. So there are tools that will kind of show you if you have a deliverability problem or not. They'll show you, which email messages you're sending out that are getting in the inbox and what percentages. They'll tell you if you're on a blacklist or if you have an issue with like Hotmail, which we do. And then they can show you how your numbers compare to industry averages, and will help you identify technical issues early on. So the cheap one is called Mail Monitor. That's a really good solution for most people. It's like $79 a month. And then we use a solution called SendGrid Insights. Well, it's actually called eData Source, but my ISP waiting, get the real numbers. So right now we have 76% inbox rate. A third of our list is inactive. That's pretty common. And I'll show you deliverability by different email service providers and kind of a chart over time, so you can see, our deliverability for Gmail, Yahoo, and AOL is fine, and then Hotmail, it's a dumpster fire because Hotmail has the strictest spam filter out of anybody, and that is just a problem we have to deal with. So this is the tool we use to monitor, and then we can track by campaign too. So we can say, oh, here's today's newsletter. There were 246 people on the panel that got the message, and of those, Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, and then international stuff, none of those have been tracked yet. So there are some really good tools out there if you've got a bigger email list. That'll show you how, like your reputation for your different IP addresses and all that stuff. You can see those. And then Return Path is the most expensive solution. I tried it for a year. I didn't think it was worth it. It was $20,000 for us. I definitely wouldn't recommend people buy that, but it's out there for enterprise level clients. Yeah, this is a Return Path screenshot that shows campaigns by inbox percentages. It's their old interface. I think they've updated a little bit since then. And then, they'll show you for each kind of message like, oh, we found a broken link in your message, here's how to fix it, or your Gmail and Yahoo users, there isn't a high reading rate, and that can cause problems, or your spam report rate on this message was a little bit higher than usual. That could be a problem. Then it shows you all the things that you did right as well. So those are some kind of the tools that are out there that are helping with deliverability. Tip number 2, this is a tip that I stole from the digital marketer team, Ryan Dice and company. They have a lot of good trainings. But depending on what you send for a subject line and message body can dramatically impact the number of sales you generate from any email. So here is a test that we did on the left here, a different split test we did for subject lines. And the worst one got 15.3% open rate, the best one got 19.5. So depending on what you use, it can dramatically impact your open rates, your clicks, your sales, everything. So what we will do is 15% of our list will get several different subject lines, and then another 15% will get the best subject line with a couple different email bodies, and then the best combination of subject line and email body will get sent to the remaining 70% of a mailing list. And then, if your email service provider supports it, try to measure success by sales and not by just opens. Opens aren't always a good measure of effectiveness, because I could send you a message saying your spouse just died right now, and you probably opened a message, but you wouldn't buy anything. So, try to go by the finalist, the most final metric you can. So by sales if possible. I think we go by clicks now. That way we know people are engaging with content. Sales, we don't always have enough to get big data, so I think we go by clicks. But the idea is to split test your subject line, split test your message body, and then send the best combination of those to most of the people on your list. Number 3 for email, don't reinvent the wheel. Sign up for your competitors' email lists. You have competitors, sign up for their stuff with maybe a fake email address, and just see what kind of stuff they're sending out. And open and click their emails so that you keep getting their messages. That way you don't accidentally get removed from the list. And sometimes you get really good ideas from other people's mailing list. We have a company that we work with. It's called Zax out of Chicago. And we have plenty of deals with them. They wouldn't care that we copy this, but they had a subject line called 20 stocks to sell now. And so we kind of replicated that. We made our own version of that report. We got a 70% open rate, which at the time was 25% better than our average. And we got a 16.5% click-through rate, which was 5 times better than what we normally do. So we saw that report. We kind of made our own version of it, and it worked. It worked really well. So then we just, now every couple of months, we will send out that same email, and we're going to keep sending it out until it stops working. Tip number 4, you can make an affiliate program for your email list. So if an email sign up for you is worth $7.10, like it is worth for us, you would gladly pay somebody $2 to $3 for that email opt-in for every time that somebody collects an opt-in for you. So we have other websites that we pay a couple bucks to collect email opt-ins for us. We do this directly through our affiliate program, and also through co-registration advertising. Like if you go on Forbes and you sign up for their newsletter, if you go on street.com and sign up for a newsletter, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see an opt-in for MarketBeat there. You should only pay per unique validated signup. So if somebody's already on your list, you don't pay for that. If they don't click the confirm email link, you don't pay for that, because then they could just be typing in a bunch of fake email addresses into their forms, as somebody tried to do that to me once, tried to scam me. That does happen. Whenever you're paying people as an affiliate and you're not requiring a sale, there will be people that try to scam you. So you should thoroughly vet your affiliates, make sure they're on the up and up before you start working with them. And then what I found is that for the affiliate sites that we work with that run our pop-up, that their signups perform pretty similar to like organic signups on our own website. So organic signups are always going to work the best, and then stuff that you pay for through co-registration advertising or any other kind of email sign thing, they're not going to perform quite as well, because they just don't, and you have to know that. But what I found is the people that we collect through our affiliate program, they perform pretty well. So we've got a page on our website, marketbeat.com/affiliate-program. You want to learn a little bit more about how we do that, and maybe model that for your own business. Tip number 5, this is a tip that everyone should follow. The biggest mailing list doesn't always win, the most engaged list does. So if somebody is not actively engaged in your mailing list, you should kick them off your list. If somebody's email bounces, you should remove them right away. If somebody hasn't opened an email from you in a year, you email say once a week or a couple times a month, you should remove them right away or remove them after a year. If you email every day like that we do, we'll kick somebody off the list if they haven't opened an email from us in 90 days. We'll cut it down that much because that means there's 90 emails that somebody's getting that they aren't opening. That tells us they're not engaged with our list. And if we have an unengaged list, we're going to show up in the spam folder more, which is just going to hurt the people that actually want our content. You really need to maintain good list hygiene so that you can keep your messages in the inbox. Kind of the best practice from the email service providers we talk to is to tell people that if they don't open 50 consecutive emails, then you should kick them off the list. So depending on your frequency, that might be 90 days like it is for us, or 6 months or 12 months, just depending on how often that you send messages. And then finally, put a unsubscribe button in the header and the footer of each email, so that way people will unsubscribe from your list rather than pressing the spam report button, which will get more of your messages in the spam folder as well. So make it really easy for people to unsubscribe. That way they unsubscribe and don't click the spam report button. Really, you would rather have a smaller list of engaged people than a larger list of unengaged people, just because that way your messages actually get into the inbox. That is kind of the end of that part of the presentation. If you want to stay in touch with me, here's my website. There is lots of blog posts from over the years that you can learn stuff from. There's some good stuff about email marketing, push notifications on there. If you want to send me a message, there's my email address, matt@mattpaulson.com. And then I'm on Facebook. If we're not Facebook friends, we can be Facebook friends. You can follow me on Twitter there. If you want to be friends on MySpace, we can do that too. And if you still have ICQ from the 1990s, there is my ICQ number. I think with that, we're going to bring Will on, and Will will kind of go through the questions for us. I do see some that came in, and we'll try to answer those as best we can.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Matt. I'm going to go friend you over on MySpace right now.
Okay. I think you already did that. No, I remember that happening. I put the screenshot on Facebook.
Well, thanks for all the great information, Matt. I mean, you really dived into some interesting topics, and I feel like I know some about this type of marketing, but I did not know you could get that deep into some of the web push notification. So yes, we've got some great questions that I've been collecting here, and I see a few more have came in here since we ended. So go ahead and type your questions in now, and we'll see if we can get through all of these. So the first question, Sarah asked, how do you get people to click no or yes versus no on the allow or block pop-up notifications?
You don't have a lot of control over that. You just kind of let it ride and see what people do. I have seen some people who will do like a JavaScript overlay, and it'll have like a kind of an arrow that points up to that opt-in and says, click allow to get whatever that we have to give to you. So you can make it a little bit more fancy if you want to. If you do that two-step thing, then you can customize the messaging even more. But that it does add another step, and I think that will hurt your overall opt-ins more often than not. And you'd have to do a test on your own website to be sure. But you really don't have a whole lot of control over it.
Yeah, well, and we're starting to see more and more of it too, so I was curious if you had any tactics there. So Mauricio asked, how do you track your web push notification stats? And I was wondering that as well. You had some real interesting stats up there, but you didn't talk about where they came from.
Yeah, so if you have push crew, it does it automatically for you. OneSignal is more of just kind of an API. So I'm going to try to log into that quick and show it. So here is, say, American Banking News. That's one of our websites. So right now we've had 22,000 subscribers in total. Right now we have 7,800 that can get them. And then you'll see the messages that we've sent. So here's like an ad for a real estate investment thing that we've sent. So looks like we had 7,764 people that got that. And it looks like maybe 30 people clicked on it. This is probably one of our less engaged sites. So you can see all the stats on there. It'll show you how many people were unreachable. That's kind of what OneSignal does. We've kind of taken it to the next step. This is our internal platform. So like here is, see what is today, Friday. Like here's kind of that notification. So we have a whole bunch of different websites that we send notifications to, as you saw from OneSignal here. And we aggregate the data in this internal platform that we built. So we sent that out to 199,000 people. 844 people clicked on it. We made $600-ish in revenue, and then 173 people unsubscribed from that ad.
Okay, excellent.
So that's kind of how we do it. If you have Push Crew, it'll do all of that for you. We just started with OneSignal, and we're kind of stuck on that platform now. So we built some tools on top of OneSignal to do that for us.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's great that they've got some of those tools for your average user that maybe doesn't have the time to integrate some of those things that you have done through the API. Mauricio asked a follow-up question as well. How do you track the sales that are coming from each of them?
Yeah, so the way we can do that is with Google Analytics and UTM tags. So if I can sign in here quick. So with Google Analytics, you can append something to the URL called a query string, which is just question mark UTM under source equals, say, web push. And then you can look at your acquisition channels in here. So I'm in Google Analytics. No, I want the source medium report is what I want. So here I can see, OneSignal sent. See, I'm trying to think what time. Let's see what time period. Hold on. Yeah, this is for the last week. OneSignal sent 4,000 people to our website, and then that generated one sale. And like our autoresponder series, sent 3,900 people, but we weren't trying to sell in the OneSignal stuff, but we were trying to sell in our autoresponder series. So in the last week, we made 24 sales from that from there. And then like from our newsletter, we can see 17 transactions from that. So that's kind of how we do it. That's a tool that, analytics is a tool that anyone can use. So if you append those UTM tags, I know some of you probably don't know what these are. I'm just going to show it in Notepad.
Yep. So yeah, it's a nice way that the servers can then track where the message came from, and then you're able to pick up within your sales funnel as well to pull in and tie them all the way back to that acquisition.
Yep. So like on MarketBeat, if I want to link to MarketBeat from my newsletter, I'll add UTM source. It came from the newsletter, and then the medium is email, so we send it through email. And just by appending that, then Google Analytics will track that for you.
Okay, excellent. So now let's shift over, and we've got a few questions around the Facebook Messenger. I know you mentioned that some of these are shifting here with the recent changes within Facebook. But Jill asked, do you get any other contact information from the Messenger bot other than a link to their profile?
You really don't. I mean, what you could do is, depending on the person's privacy settings, like say my buddy Nathan Schock or my employee Rebecca McKeever signed up, you could click on her. That's her picture. Sorry, Rebecca. I think Rebecca's in here, so I think you can. Yeah, I think there is a way to see her profile somehow, or you could search for them in Facebook and see if they have an email address on there. But by default, you really don't. You just have their information about their profile and then the right to message them.
Okay, perfect. So Sam asked, what content do you send via web push? Do you send all content or do you do custom content? And I was wondering that as well. I know you mentioned that you do up to 4 a day. Is that every post?
So we do a lot of ads because we make lots of money from them. And then like one thing that's big on our website is analyst upgrades and downgrades. So those are like stock recommendations from like Goldman Sachs. That's kind of something we're known for. So whenever each day's notifications are available, we'll send out a notification for that. And then hopefully in the bottom right here, that test notification will come up. I don't know if I subscribe to them on this page or not.
Okay.
Maybe it won't, but that's one thing that we do. So any content, any new blog post, you send that out. Ads for your product. Like one thing that we did last, see if I can pull it up here. We had a big sale a couple of weeks ago. And then on the last day, we would, on the last day here, like we would have a message that's like last chance, your $100 upgrade discount for MarketBeat Daily Premium ends today. Don't miss out on this. That would have our icon and then like a link that says learn more here. And then it would just go to our landing page. And we generated some sales from that, so it actually works.
Okay. Oh, well, great. So one more question on the Facebook Messenger. Sam asked, what content do you send out? Oh, I'm sorry, I just asked that one. No more
Yes.
questions on the Facebook Messenger. On
Okay.
email, Josh was asking, how do you find your email opt-in affiliates?
Um, so honestly, you look for people in the same space that you're in that aren't collecting email opt-ins on their website. So if there's other sites like yours or other people in kind of the same space that you are that don't have an email opt-in on their website, you can email them saying, hey, I've got a way for you to make money. And that usually gets people's attention. So for a while we were getting a lot of traffic from Google Finance. I went to all the other big Google Finance sites and found the ones that didn't have email opt-ins, and I emailed them and say, hey, do you want to collect opt-ins for us? We'll pay you $2 for each opt-in. I think you'll make this much from every 1,000 people that come to your website. And we built some great relationships from that, and I've been doing that for probably 3 years now, and we're still paying the same people.
Okay. Well, good. Now, Vic asked, and I don't quite know the context here, but maybe you will. What's the process for getting Google News traffic?
Yeah, there's a whole application process. If you search for Google News application, it gives you this process. There is a form you fill out, and there are certain requirements that you have to meet. Certainly, you have to meet their webmaster guidelines. You have to have multiple writers on your website, have contact information, a lot of stuff like that. So it's a pretty known quantity if you Google it and what the requirements are, and then um, then you would fill out that form and say,
Okay.
that's really what it is. And
Okay.
if you don't get in the first time, you can post in their forum, and then people will give you good feedback about what you need to do. And they have this whole guide for it, and that's kind of what you need to do.
All right. Well, Craig asked a great question that I know you're passionate about. He asked, people keep saying email is dead, and he disagrees, and I know you disagree as well.
Mm,
It's much more around building those long-term relationships. Do you
yeah,
want to talk for a minute about that?
yeah. So there is a little website that somebody made called emailisnotdead.com. So if anyone says email is dead, I just send them to this website. There's 6 billion email accounts. 3.7 billion people every day read email. Number of email subscribers is growing. 81% of shoppers are more likely to buy when you send email. It's just all of the stats. So there's young tech people that think email is dead, and we're always in Slack now or Skype or whatever. And, nobody wants to get email anymore, and that is a very small percentage of people. If you read the numbers, email it's big, it's growing, it's bigger than Facebook, it's bigger than Facebook and the next 5 social networks combined.
Hmm.
Facebook has maybe 2 billion users. There are 6 billion email accounts. What does that tell you?
Yeah, well, when you start looking into the numbers, I think it really shows that email is definitely not dead. And I know most of my business transactions do take place on email, and some of them
Mm-hmm.
that are less business are finding these other platforms that are, like Facebook Messenger and so on. Well,
Mm-hmm.
great. Well, you can send people over there, Craig, when they ask you as well. I've got a couple more questions. If we've got a few more minutes, if anybody has any last minute questions, go ahead and get those typed in now. So 2 more questions here for you. Matt, Chip asked, would you recommend buying a mailing list? And I know you and I have talked about this before, and I think you even talk about it in your book.
Yeah, you really don't want to do that, and the reason is that typically a list that you purchase is not engaged. They could be very old and have a lot of bad email accounts in there, which will get your MailChimp account banned pretty quickly. Usually, people don't want people don't want you to spam them, so that your messages probably wouldn't be very welcome. If you want to do cold email outreach to people, there is a way to do that that's very effective. And I have a nice long blog post on it. It's actually a chapter from my book that kind of walks through what you need to do. And there are tools that help with this now that will kind of send people an autoresponder email through your personal email account until they reply, and then it'll stop. Like Blue Tick. No, that's not the right site. My friend Mike Tabor runs this. Yeah, bluetick.io.
Okay.
It's a really neat tool that you can use to do cold email outreach. You can certainly check that out if that's something like you don't have a mailing list and you want to reach out to people. You could gather their email addresses, put them into BlueTick, then start sending them kind of automated personal emails from your personal email account. That works very well.
Yeah, well, I noticed a lot of the questions, you've written blog posts about them in the past, so I think that would be a
Yeah,
great resource for people as well. All right, so
sure.
I've got two more questions. So Kyle
Okay.
asked, what is a good email program for a small business to get started with email marketing?
Yeah, so MailChimp is kind of the default one. I think it's just fine. If you want really some more fancy stuff, there's a tool called Drip that I really like. And then a lot of people are using another tool called ConvertKit. Um, that seems to be popular with bloggers and creators right now.
Okay.
Um, those are kind of some things to look at. I don't know.
Perfect.
I don't know if there's one that I recommend over any others.
Yeah.
They all
I mean,
kind
they
of do the
all,
same thing.
yeah.
And
I mean,
just
the big
look
thing to
that
look
way.
out for is can they track the stats for you? Because if you're going to start out, you really need to know whether you're hitting the mark or not. And I think all of
Yeah,
the commercial ones are going to support that. And we all know, and you mentioned this as well, don't try to reinvent email. Use some of
yeah.
these platforms.
No,
Well, excellent.
you
So
go ahead.
So I've got one more question here. We're going to bounce back over to push notifications. If you have any more last minute questions, go ahead and get them in real quick. So Nathan asks, can you still benefit from web push notifications if most of the traffic is mobile?
You can on Android. On iPhone, you can't. It's browser notifications are not a thing on iPhone, but you can on Android. So Chrome for Android supports browser notifications, works just fine. It'll show up like any other push notification on a phone. So if you find that you have all iPhone users, it's not going to help you. But if you find you have a good chunk of Android users, you can still definitely do that.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks. Yeah, and I wasn't aware that you could do it at all on the mobile, so that's interesting, and it'll be
Mhm.
interesting to see where this shifts here moving forward. So Sarah just asked real quick, any suggestions on how to use these push notifications if you do not own the website? Like, for example, if you're a franchise owner, or maybe you just have a simple website putting up, but you don't have a lot of control over.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to do. If you can't get the code on a website, you won't be able to collect those opt-ins. Um, if that's the case, I probably wouldn't do that. Like if you don't have control over the website, I might make like a Facebook group and try to get people engaged in there and put content in there. Like we've done that with the Entrepreneurs of Sioux Falls group. We've got, community of 5,000 people in there, and it's doesn't require a website, doesn't require anything like that. You just make a group about something, and then you post a piece of content every day. We use a tool called Buffer to do that. So every day a new post from me will come out asking a question or something like that. See if I can find one like, there's my ad for the webinar, and like here's today. So we just complete the sentence, one thing before I want to accomplish for the end of the year, and then people really do engage with that. We've gotten great engagement with this group. So if you don't control the website, I would point you to something like a Facebook group, which will allow you to build a community without having a website.
Perfect. Well, excellent. Well, that's all the questions, Matt. So if you have
Okay.
any kind of parting notes and information, maybe you can direct some people over for additional information.
Yeah. Normally at the end of the webinar, somebody will try to sell you something. I don't really have anything to sell, but if you want more content like this that I've created kind of over the last 3 years, there's a big back catalog of blog posts, and I think there's some really good content in there. And if you want to learn more about a specific topic we talked about today, just go to my website. And then I have written a few books. They're really cheap on Amazon. They're like $2, so hopefully you won't get mad at me for mentioning them. But like, if you want to start an internet business, online business from scratch is a great book. And then I wrote a dividend investing book, and then the other good book. They're all good, but email marketing. There's a whole full book on email marketing on Amazon. You guys can check out as well. I think that's it. If you guys enjoyed this, send me an email, send me a Facebook message, tell me that you enjoyed it. If we got good feedback, maybe we'll do another one of these sometime. But I think that is all we have for today. So I'm going to end the webinar, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay, now I just got to figure out how to end this thing. All right, end webinar. There we go. All right, see you later, guys.